Welcome to Man of the Prize, the podcast. It's your host, it's Harvey. How you doing? How was the week? Every episode, I ask the same question. How was your week? Did you succeed? Did you fail? What did you do when you succeeded? Did you celebrate? But more importantly, what did you do when maybe it didn't work out? Was this one of those weeks where it didn't happen? How'd you take it? Because success is easy. Failure, how do we handle failure? How did you handle that this week? I hope you did well. I hope you took it, was a learning, meant something for you. Okay, I'm gonna do better next time. And you stuck with it. And I hope that's what this is. As usual, another great guest. I love getting men on here. You know I like this. I feed off of hearing men talk and getting men wrapped up in talking about themselves and talking about their emotions. So, this is gonna be another good one. You know how I always start though. I am just me. I'm a 47-year-old stay-at-home dad. I am not trained. I can't diagnose. I can't do any of that stuff. What I can do is get men to come on here and talk. And that's what I want you to hear. I want you to hear men talking because it's not what we usually do. We're not trained to do that. We're not put out into the world to be a bunch of talkers. We're out here to be providers, to work, to bring money, to bring some kind of value to the home, but not our emotions. And I want you to know that's not the case. That's not what you are. You are a whole person with feelings, ups and downs, struggles, all that stuff. And the best way to get them out is to talk about them. And that's why I do this podcast. So if nothing else, this podcast should allow you to be comfortable with hearing men talking about their struggle. And if nothing else, I hope it leads you to being comfortable to talk about yours with a friend, a mentor, a professional. Find somebody to listen to you because it's better for us to get our emotions out before they just come out of us because we can't hold on to them anymore. And then, toxic comes along. And, we're not toxic here. That's not in our nature. And with that said, the guest this week, Josh Copeland. And as usual, I love a good bio. So let me get up in this bio. Josh is a powerful motivational speaker whose message will have you energized and ready to tackle any challenges that life throws at you. His customized speeches are very interactive and will keep the audience engaged the entire time. He has a unique way of being able to connect with people of all ages and from all walks of life. His story is one of success, failure, we talked about those too, and perseverance. It is one that will make you laugh, cry, and make you look inside at yourself to strive to be the best person you can be. He has gone from being a Division I athlete to someone who battled depression and alcoholism. He went from having only 33 cents in the bank account and jobless to running a successful business. Now he is sharing his story and experiences to inspire and encourage this audience. Josh Copeland is the guest this week. How are you today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on. This is amazing. I love the platform. I love what you do. I think it's so important for have a space, a safe space, for men to come and talk and share their emotions, share what they're going through. So, kudos to you for having a space like this. It's a major. So I'm excited to be on. I'm excited to get into this conversation.
That's what's up. Thank you. I appreciate it. I like the idea. It's good. We need to be open. We need to be comfortable with being open. And that's the mission here. And just when I saw you and looking at your story, I'm like, that's a story that needs to be heard. So I
Appreciate that.
just read this bio and people heard it, but I always start with this. Let's say I saw you on the street. You just walk in and I'm like, oh my
hmm
God, that's Josh Copeland. And I don't have like the bio in front of me, but I got like 15 seconds. Josh, tell me about you. What would you say to somebody? 10, 15 seconds, a quick bio.
10, 15 seconds. I would say I am a person who's overcome a lot, who struggled to find who he was, and now I found that out. And I leave out the sports, I leave out everything because now I'm gonna get into that in a second. But for the longest time, I thought that I was only an athlete. So to realize that I'm a real person. So if anybody, I would just tell them, hey, I'm a person who went through some things, who wants to share and help people. That's kind of how I'll leave that really quick, and then we can kind of get into the other stuff.
Excellent. Excellent. So the podcast, the idea of it is the word prize. I love the word prize. And I always heard it, but it was never really attached to men. Women are the prize. I'm the
Mhm.
prize. Men have to come for me, stuff like that. And I never heard us described that way. We men were never the prize. We were always searching for the prize, trying to get the prize, buy it, whatever, impress it, instead of being it. So what I did is I took the word and I took the letters and I attached each letter to a specific characteristic that I think builds a good man.
Mm.
So each letter, except one, represents a characteristic. I'm going to throw some questions at you based on it. And I think with that, we'll kind of get into, your story and everything. And this conversation can go wherever the hell it wants, but we'll just talk. So
Sounds
the
good.
so the first letter in the word prize is P, and the word is purpose.
Mm.
Purpose is defined as reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. So, Mr. Copeland, what is your purpose?
Well, I love where this is going. I'm so excited. I love where this is going. I think my purpose, and I say this to everybody, I say your purpose kind of changes maybe as you evolve as a person. So right now, my state, where I'm at mentally and physically and emotionally, and where I'm at in my life, my purpose is to help people. That is my purpose, to help people, and to shine a light on stigmas that might be had, that might be thought of, or stereotypes that that might be out there, to shine a light on those and have a conversation. So my purpose is to help people get through and overcome whatever it is they're going through in life.
Okay. Did you have a Josh growing up to help you through life, problems, issues?
Hmm, yes and no. So I say yes and no because I grew up with four brothers, um, and my mother was a stay-at-home mother. My dad worked a lot, so um, we had, a two-parent household until I was in sixth grade. Then my parents got divorced, but we had a lot of men around the family, right? So we had a space to say, hey, how do I do this? Right? Whether it was physically in sports or fixing a car, or cutting the grass or doing manly things, if you will.
Right.
But to say, hey, I'm going through this emotionally. How can I overcome that? And it's not a knock on my family at all because I love them and we're very, very close to this day. But it was just something we didn't talk about, right? You don't talk
Right.
really about your emotions. You may say you're mad, but it's okay, get over it, and we got stuff to do. So it's constantly like pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to build strong men who can overcome adversity and stuff, which my parents did a phenomenal job at that. But so to answer your question, there was nobody that I could like really want to go talk to about, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. For one, because I didn't even know how to articulate what I was going through.
Right.
So even if I wanted to go out and help, I didn't know how to put the words to what my feelings were. So yeah, so I want to be that for somebody.
Okay. So I have a question. So you said four
Yes.
brothers growing up?
Hmm.
So it's your father, it's the five of you in terms of the children and your mom, right?
Hmm.
Take a second and consider this. What kind of effect did your mother have on your masculinity?
Wow, I've never thought about that. Give me a second. I never really thought about that. What kind of effect did my mother have on my masculinity? I think so. I'm gonna answer this, but I don't know if this is going to get to the root of what you're trying to ask. But this is just what I feel led to answer. So, I saw my mom, stay at home and not work for till I was 12 years old. So I saw her take care of the household, and I saw my dad go out and work and do things. So what I wanted to do as when I became, a man, I had a family. My whole the idea was like, hey, I want to be able to provide in a way that my wife can stay at home with my daughter. You know what I mean? So, or I have a daughter now. So that was my idea growing up, that okay, this is how it is because my dad did that, my dad, and but my mother was such a strong-willed person, and she's still living, so she's such a strong-willed person, and to raise 5 boys, there was a bit of toughness that she had to have, that she had to show us that, hey, I can, even though I'm here, I can still get things accomplished. I can still do this. You know what I mean? So there was a way that she had to go about her every day, that I saw that my brothers was like, you know what? We kind of want, in a way, to provide in a way that my father did for my mother. So I hope that answered your question. So it's kind of, I didn't get to like the exact masculinity part, but she always told us, she had this saying that no matter what happens, push your shoulders back, chin up, and keep walking.
Okay. Okay.
So she would say that all the time, right? No matter what happens, she said you can pout about it, you can be mad, you can be frustrated, but at the end of the day, you got to put your shoulders back, chin up, and keep walking. So that kind of instilled, no matter what you go through, that you have to push through. You can take a second to be mad, you could take a second to be frustrated, you could, and she wasn't one on like complaining and like, she's like, no, it happened. Take a second, evaluate, and move on. So that kind of conditioned how I am, and I'm still that way to this day. I'm like, something happens, I take a second, evaluate, I'll get mad, I'll be frustrated, but then in a way, I'm just like, okay, I got to move on.
That's the answer. Your mom kind of framed the kind of man that you are and how you handle situations. I always find it interesting when you get a family, when it's a bunch of guys and a mother, and 99% of the time you get all this testosterone floating through this house, but the woman runs that house. She runs the
Yes.
show. She could be like 4 foot nothing. You could have a bunch of 6 foot power forwards up in that house, but she could look at you dead in your eye and it's over. And it's like, mom.
100%.
And I'm sure 5 sons and a father. What? Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yes, she's like that, and still to this day. So even growing up, like I grew up in a very like Christian household. So my mother and my father, they were Sunday school teachers. So even to this day, my friends, like, they respect my mother, but they're kind of scared of her, to a point when I got married, there's like, Josh, I can't drink at your wedding because your mom's there. And I'm like, bro, we're 30. I was like,
she saved you money on the open bar. That's
yeah.
what's up.
I was like, we're 30, man. Like, it's okay. She knows you drink. I was like, no, I just can't. So that's the type of reputation that my mother has around, my areas. Like, they're like, she don't play, but she's very well respected. And she, and she instilled a lot of great values in us.
Are you very well respected?
I believe so. I believe so. I believe so. And I try to be. I heard one time that your reputation walks in the room before you do. And so I heard that at a young age. And so I knew that how I went about my day and how I represented myself mattered. Right. And it mattered. And not saying you had to be perfect. And we can get into that, because I thought I had to be perfect in order to put this persona or facade on. But really just being you. And that's one thing that my parents instilled, is just doing the right thing. Right. And you know what I mean? Like in treating people right. And just so doing those two things, doing the right thing and treating people right, having the right intentions, regardless of what the outcome of the decision was, you can rest at night knowing that you tried your best. Not saying it's always going to be the right thing to do at the moment, but your intentions were to do the right thing at the moment. And I think that they instilled that. So I would say I'm respected.
That's good. That's good. I feel like, and I don't know, I don't want to sound kind of long-winded, but
No,
I'm
you're
a
okay.
parent. I'm a parent of 4. I have 4 kids. I have an 18-year-old son and 3 daughters. And when I talk about being a father, I talk about sending my children out to the world, and my children are essentially my agents that I send out to the world. They
Okay.
are a reflection of me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, I'm Haitian. So we're all about respect. We're all about decency.
Right.
And either we're Christian or we're Seventh-day Adventist, so super religious.
Mm-hmm.
And when my kids go out into the world, that person who meets them may have never met me, but they know who they're dealing with. They're
Right.
with children who, just like you, would go onto the world and do the right thing and treat people right. So when I hear you talking about you and how respected you are and how you just deal with situations, it sucks, I gotta deal with it and move on. You are a very great agent of your mother. Your mom, I'm sure, is proud of what you've done, of what you've gone through, and whatever crap you had to deal with, you did it respectfully. And people got that from you. So I feel like that's always a good start. If my parents can be proud of me, then I'm doing something right. And then by extension, if my children can go out there and be well, then I'm proud of them. So I can
I
tell.
love that. I absolutely love that. And I'm a father of one. I got a 2-year-old daughter.
You better catch up, brothers. One? Stop
Man, I
it.
know.
You
Listen,
look all
listen.
rested and such. Stop it.
Listen, you all having 3 and 4 kids. I'm like, my wife and I, we talk about it every day. We're like, I don't know. She's giving us a run for our money. But it's great. And I love how you said, that you're an agent, because you are a representation of your parents and how you were brought up, right? Whether good or bad, you picked up on things. And so now I'm seeing my daughter just picking up on little things that, mannerisms that my wife and I are doing, or sayings, or how we walk around the house. And it's like, oh, and it just dawns on you that, wow, you're really taking in all this stuff, and it's creating who you are as a human.
Yep.
And what you're going to become in this world. And so I'm like, so I love that, it's my job to try to show the best example of who I would like you to be. Not saying you have to be that, but just say, hey, my mom and dad were stand-up people. They were honest, they were respectable, they respected each other. They maybe had their arguments, they still respected each, you know what I mean? Stuff like
Yeah.
that, that
No
I
doubt.
think is huge for a child growing up, and then who they could become in the world.
Oh, no doubt. You want to figure out what kind of person you are? Watch your kids. Your kids will show you exactly
I
who the hell you
Wow,
are.
I
Watch how
love
your
that.
kids deal with situations because they don't know any better. They only know how to deal with conflict by seeing how dad or mom handled it. If they're calm, you probably were calm. If they get agitated easily, it's probably what they've seen. It's children are, we teach them a lot, but given the opportunity, you can learn so much from your kids. I've learned the good and the bad in me by seeing my kids. It's a blessing.
Mm,
And I'm not religious, but it's a blessing to have a
yeah.
mirror to see you. And it's crazy sometimes because I'm like, I'm pretty good, but
Wow.
not today. I saw my child did that. I'm like, oh my God.
Right. Wow. I love that. I love how you worded that. That if you want to see how you act and see yourself, just look at your child, because that's amazing. That's so true.
It is true. And I love it. I love my kids. And it's just a reminder
Mm-hmm.
that I got to be on top. I can't play around. I got people
Mm,
who are looking up to me for experience and such.
right.
So I appreciate the P answering for purpose. So we're going to dig in here. So the
Okay.
next letter in the word prize is R, and the word is resilience.
Mm,
Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. So you've obviously had quite the life. So
mm-hmm.
I imagine resilience is clearly something easy for you to talk about. But whatever you can and willing to talk about in your life, a
Mm-hmm.
situation or what happened to you in life where you discovered that you were resilient and maybe you didn't know, or maybe you found a level of resilience that you didn't know you had and you found out
Mm,
after dealing with a situation. Talk to us about that.
mm. That's a deep question. That's a deep question. Um. So let me preface this by saying this, and so we talked about my parents, right? And when they
Right.
got divorced, and this kind of leads up to my point I'm about to make. So I just want to give you kind of a little
No
background. We
doubt.
talked about
Go
how
for
the
it.
parents make you. Yeah. So
Right.
my parents got divorced. We grew up in a, like I said, very religious household. So we was like, don't get divorced, all this, that, and the other. So when my parents got divorced, my dad left. I kind of was like, not resented my father, but I was kind of upset. I was like, man, now I'm watching my mom work 2 jobs. I'm watching her do this, and I'm watching you still work 2 jobs. So, and I'm like, how could you do that? And then it wasn't until I got married that my father sat my wife and I down and told us told me his side of the story. And that was so powerful because it changed my whole perspective on him as a person and how what he had to go through mentally to make that decision. And then I had a conversation with my mom a couple years prior to that about what she went through, her side of divorce, right? And how she had to push through. So I'm getting both sides from one story. So that instilled, and I mean, obviously instilled a lot, but that just showed me that sometimes the best decision for you might not be liked by everybody at that moment, but you still have to do what's best for you. And you have to push through no matter what everybody else says, no matter what everybody else do, because you know that's what's best for you at that moment. And so there's a couple moments in my life where I had to rely on that. And one in particular, when I got done, and this was kind of like the biggest one, that self-defining moment. When I got done playing college football, I said earlier that my whole life and identity was tied up into being an athlete. So I had no idea who I was as a person. I had no idea what I even liked to do because I played 3 sports all year since I was 6 years old. So from 6 to 22, from January to December, it was all sports every year. So I did not know a life without sports. And then to be at my physical peak, right? A college athlete, just graduated at the best shape of his life. Now I wasn't wanted for the same sport I was just wanted for my whole life. So I did not know how to deal with that mentally. And so one thing I started doing, was drinking. And I was never a drinker. I didn't drink in high school. I didn't drink in college. I was always the designated driver. And so I started drinking because I didn't know the person I was looking at in the mirror from an emotional standpoint and from an internal standpoint, because I didn't feel like myself. So I was like, well, I don't know who this person is. So let me start doing things that, I was searching. To grab onto something. And then the first time I got drunk, all the emotions, the depression, all that kind of went away. And I was like, oh, this kind of feels good for this moment, for this night. I'm not worried about what somebody's thinking about me. I'm not worried about that. So, and I started drinking a lot. And I became very depressed, very, very depressed, because the drinking, I couldn't just, for me, it was once I started drinking, then I was embarrassed because I was never a drinker, but then I started drinking. So then I drank more to kind of put that embarrassment. And then I started gaining weight because that's what alcohol does. So then now I'm physically not looking like myself, inside of internally not feeling like myself. I'm back in my hometown where everybody knew me. So I was supposed to go to the NFL. So now I'm a college graduate who's back home with no job, living on his brother's couch, alcoholic, drinking all day, and overweight. So that's a whole internal battle that I was going through every single day that I didn't want to share with nobody, because I'm like, nobody would care. They're like, you're a Division I athlete. Why are you depressed? You got your school paid for. Why are you depressed? You played on ESPN. Why are you depressed? Blah, 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 right? And so I really had to battle and dig deep down to, one, keep pushing, because, like I said, my parents they just said, keep going, just another day, like something, if it doesn't get better, the calm's always before the storm, and then there's always darkness before the lightest. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, if it's too calm, something's about to happen. If it's too rough, something's about to happen. So that always instilled, okay, no matter what it is, you gotta kind of keep it even kill. And there was one instance that really kind of changed it for me. I got a DUI coming home one day, and I was a mile from my house. I was drinking, and I knew all the cops in my area. And I was like, hey, if I saw the light sirens, I was a mile from my house. I'm like, cool, if it's a local cop, I'm good. I know them. They're going to walk me home. They know my family, my brothers. They're going to walk me home. They're going to call my brother, tell him to come get the car in the morning. Right. It was a state trooper.
That's it.
And it was a wrap. So it was over. So once he saw me, he we doing the whole sobriety test and all that. And the thing that kicked it off was I had one of my high school teammates come as backup. And so I'm doing the sobriety test, and he's like, man, I obviously can't have you drive. Someone's going to take you to the station. Somebody come pick you up. So he's put me in a car, the police car. My high school teammate comes as backup. And I saw the disappointment on his face because he knew I didn't drink. He knew I didn't do anything. So I saw a disappointment, and that was kind of a gut blow, right? And then I started thinking in my life, I'm like, the whole time I'm not wanting to disappoint somebody, I'm disappointing myself. So I'm the whole time I'm worried about not disappointing anybody, but the whole time I'm disappointing myself. And the last thing that really set it over the edge, at a certain point, alcohol wasn't getting me where I needed to go. So then I started smoking and doing other stuff. And one night I went out with my friends and I was drunk. We was day drinking. I was drinking all day, and then we were smoking, and then I ate an edible.
Okay.
So that's 3 different types of feelings all wrapped up in one, and I didn't do any of that, so my body didn't know how to react. Right. And to make a long story short, I was sitting on the couch and I was kind of going through it, and I was having all this stuff and was watching The Matrix. and there was a scene, it's kind of funny now, but it wasn't at the time. Right. But there was a scene, right, with like the metal octopus was like attacking the mothership. Okay. And I thought those things was coming through the TV to attack me. So now I hop up. It's January 18th. I'm in Ohio. So it's cold, rainy, and I'm about 7 miles from my house. And I just run in a dead sprint to my house. Full-blown panic attack. It's 2 a.m. and I'm running, and we have a local university. So I'm running down the college campus, unbuttoned shirt, no socks on, full-blown panic attack, sweating, like panicking, thinking, who can I call? Who can I call? What can I do? Because I hid that I was drinking so much from my family that nobody knew. And so the whole time I'm like, I can't call my mom, can't call my brothers, because for one, I don't want that, to get a phone call from, hey, I'm panic attack, I need you to come get me. I can't call the police because I already know how that conversation and that goes. And I'm an African-American male, so I don't, no telling how that could go. Yep. So the whole time I'm panicking, one of my friends answered the phone, and she like kind of talks me home to like calm me down. But in that moment, I realized the importance of saving yourself and doing things for you in order to be able to help other people. And what I mean by that is, I use the analogy of Harriet Tubman, right? And Harriet Tubman, American slave, and she saved herself, ran away, had freedom, and then came back to get her friends, family, loved ones. And so many times in our life, we stay in a situation, we stay somewhere because we want to help people so much. And the whole time it's hindering our growth. It's hindering what we want to do. So I use Harriet Tubman as an example that, no, sometimes it's okay and it's necessary. In order for you to help people the way you're meant to help them, you have to leave and save yourself first, and then you come back. And so at that moment, I knew, okay, I have to be resilient, I have to push through, and I have to get myself out of whatever hole I'm in now. And then I can go back and help other people. But I can't do that in the state I'm in now.
Understood. I like that analogy. When I talk to men, one of the things I mentioned, and this is something I think hopefully we'll get into it, and it's such a simple idea. The idea of taking care of yourself is it's so simple, but it's so foreign to a lot of us because it's not something that we're told. Right. And as men, we're providers. It could be financial, it could be emotional, whatever. But I like the idea of when you go on a plane, they always say, when that mask drops, I can't help them unless I take care of myself first. And that's life. I want to be able to help men, but to a degree, I need to make sure I'm in a good space. So I can't help you if I can't breathe, right? So when I hear you, that's literally the same thing. I got to take care of myself, and it's foreign because you want to help people. You immediately want to do that. But it's even more foreign because we're men and we're not used to taking care of ourselves first. We're always back. We're always at the end of the line. Take care of my wife, my kids, whatever family, my friends, whatever. But being like, you know what? I need to kind of be selfish right now. And I need to take care of me. I'm struggling right now. And I could help that person, but I come first. And and we don't see that a lot. So I like when I'm hearing you talk about that's so important to recognize that sometimes I got to be me. I got to be selfish. I mean, you my boy, but I'm not in a place where I can help anybody, and I can't even help myself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I like how you're saying that. Obviously life hit you hard. That's
Yes.
got to be it. So what kind of conversation was that when your family recognized what was going on? How did you talk?
The So honestly, I told him I invited my mom to a speech that I was giving. And this was the first real time. It was like a couple months, maybe a year after I was kind of came to and it took me a while to kind of come to the realization and work on getting to a place where I could talk about it comfortably. Cause like I said, I was embarrassed for a while and I
Mhm.
didn't want nobody to know. So it took me a while. So the first time my mom kind of heard and my brothers and stuff, I kind of invited them to a speech I was giving. And we never really, like I said, we talk about emotion, but not really. It's more like, hey, are you good? Yes. Okay, cool. Let me know if you need anything. um and so when they heard me speak, it was the first time they really like, oh man, I had no idea. Right. It was like and then my mother, I remember afterwards, she said she apologized. And I was like, Ma, and and we had that conversation because she was like, I'm so sorry I wasn't there. And I was like, no, it's nothing to be apologized for because you did all you could do. I was like, it's up to me to be able to share with you that I'm going through something. And so then it dawned on me, when I help people, I want to let them know it's okay to express what you're going through to that level. Right. It's okay to say, Mom, hey, I'm struggling. I'm not right mentally right now. Because you know yourself. Right. You know when you're not feeling like yourself. So it's okay to say, hey, babe, listen, I'm going through this mentally right now. I need a break, or I need that. That's okay to do. Right. And so it's tough to kind of, did I lose you for a second?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'm sorry. It kind of looked like the screen froze, but no.
Nope, you're good.
Um, Okay, cool. So, but yeah, it's tough to do that. But yeah, it's one of those things that, like, when we had the conversation, now they kind of know. And my mother spoke one day in the question and answer segment about the flip side on what it was like as a mother, not knowing
Mm.
your son was struggling, and then realizing it. So she was able to answer some questions for some parents about that, which was, it was powerful. It was so powerful, because as a parent, you don't know, right? You just assume, because you're right, you instill great values, you instill everything. That walking around, everybody's obviously on their best behavior in front of their parents. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So especially like coming to our back, it's like, no, I don't do nothing.
Mhm.
So then it's so once she, so she was able to talk and help parents with who are going through similar things.
That's good. That's amazing to have your mom there.
Yeah.
What was it like hearing your mom talk about that? I mean, obviously you had a conversation, but I would
Yeah.
imagine when she's talking to parents, that's different language. When you're
Yeah.
talking to a parent, and because you can relate to a parent in that situation, and I don't know if you were a
Hmm.
parent at that point yet,
I was
but
not.
talking to parents about this was my child. Because I know
Yeah.
I have a mother who would say the same thing. That's my child. It's not her fault at all. Like, my child was going through this and I didn't see it.
Mm.
I mean, what kind of feelings did you have when you kind of got to see your mom probably taking on some guilt that she didn't have to? What was that like
Yeah.
seeing that?
Yeah, it was tough at first because she blamed herself, and my dad, we had a conversation with my dad too, and he's like, man, listen, I'm sorry, I didn't know, um but thank you for sharing. And so it's a different conversation. But mom, that's you, her baby, we're all her babies.
Right.
It's like,
That's right. That's right.
it's a different
Hmm.
connection, right? So
Right.
um when she was able to speak, it hurt a little bit, because then I felt guilt,
Right.
because I was like, I had no idea that it would affect you this way. If I would have known that, I would have spoke up sooner. If I would have known that, it would have been okay. You see what I mean?
Oh
Because you're
yeah,
like,
I
I don't
got
want to
you.
disappoint you. And
Exactly.
one of the things that she said, that really, she's like, Josh, you will never disappoint me as long as you're a good person. And I was like, oh, because it had nothing to do with accolades. It had nothing to do with how much money. She was like, Josh, if you're just a good person, You will never just, and that took all the weight off myself, because I was like, man, I never want to disappoint anybody. And you're thinking, oh, I got to do this, I got to make this much money, I got to provide, and then just something so simple, just be a good person and add value to this world, and we're good. And I was like, oh, so yeah, it was tough at first, but yeah, she's amazing.
Especially hearing that from mom, because parents,
Yeah.
I'm a happy father, and I take
Hmm.
pride in being that. But there's something about your mom saying something like that to you,
Oh,
it tugs
100%.
at you. Oh, it's serious. I feel you. All
Yeah.
right. The next letter in the word prize is I, but I skipped that. I saved that for the end. The
Okay.
next letter in the word prize is Z. The word is
Hmm.
zeal. Zeal is enthusiastic devotion. What are
Mm.
you enthusiastically devoted to?
Oh my gosh, to helping and speaking. It's an obsession almost, and not so much to where like, oh, I'm in front of people, I want the accolades. No, I want to help people. So if no matter if I'm speaking to two people or I'm speaking to 1,000, I'm bringing the same energy as you know what I mean. It doesn't matter. I'm bringing the same energy. I'm saying the same message. I want to help people, um, and I want to be authentic, and I want to be real. I want to have real conversations. So yeah, speaking is something that I am all that about. So so I would say speaking in that
That's cool. That's
and
cool.
helping people.
Excellent. So elaborate a little bit on that for me, helping
Oh
people.
yeah.
So, in just simple terms, layman, how do
Hmm.
you help someone?
So how I help people is I help them, and we go back to your purpose. I help them realize their purpose. Because what I found out, and this I've learned this listening to my mom when she was talking about the divorce and how she had to essentially become like she was two different people. She was my mom, her name's Michelle. So she was Michelle growing up, and then she had a maiden name. And then when she got married, she was Michelle Copeland.
Right.
And then when she got divorced, she was a mixture of both. You see, so and so to watch her go through that mental struggle and that mental battle of, oh my gosh, I'm not married to this man, but I have his last name, and you know what I mean. And so just watching that and watching, she's like, I had to find a whole new purpose. So from not working to working, like that's a
Mhm.
whole new purpose, and to have to bring money in, and then vice versa on my father's side, to have a family that you come home to every day to not having one, to have kids at the house to not having that, to so now it's so to have on both sides, to have peace and come home and after a long day and rest and watch your kids run around and play, and then now you're coming home to an empty home.
Mhm. Yeah, that's tough. I know that's
So on both sides, right? So I see that. So my idea is to help people find their purpose at whatever stage there is in their life. If you're a divorcee, you have to find a new purpose, because you almost have to be reinvent yourself.
okay. Okay.
If you're in a job for 30 years, it's so 20 years, 15 years, it's so easy to go through the motions that you kind of lose your purpose, because the job, you can do it in your sleep.
Right.
So you come into a routine, so you start to lose your purpose. Whether
Right.
so I help, so that's what I do. I help people find their purpose in whatever phase they're in their life, and then we have a game plan to achieve whatever success they want to have within that purpose, and then go from there. Because a lot of times, and it's with people in their careers, and the pandemic showed a lot of people in their careers are not happy. You know what I mean? And
Right.
are just trying to get a check, and then they're losing slowly but surely their purpose and their value in life
And themselves in it.
and
And
themselves.
yeah, especially us men, because that's what
Hmm.
we're raised to do. I was
Oh,
having
it's
this
so
conversation.
hard.
I was having this conversation, and life has changed so much. I'm 47, so I'm older than you. And
Hmm.
one thing that we recognize is that we men, we grew up, take care of our families, do whatever. And a lot of times we just got a job, not the job, not
Hmm.
the one we wanted, but a job that takes care of family. And that's why when those men, 40, 45, all of a sudden that midlife crisis comes through, because
Hmm.
I'm not doing what I wanted to do. I'm doing what needed to be done. And I feel like something like that's not really happening now because it's more
Mhm.
acceptable to just be a
Yeah.
man and just be like, you know what? I could do this accounting job, but I just want to be a sculptor. I just want to do
Right.
something real basic and it's gonna make me happy. So we
Uh,
don't get that time where
yes.
we struggling. And I like the whole discussion about masculinity, about what it means to be a man.
Mm,
So when you talk to people, when you're helping them, and I imagine you help everyone, but
yes.
when you're helping men, is it brass tacks? Do you have to get down to like how comfortable you are as a man? What does it mean to be a man? Is that part of the process of healing somebody, of helping someone? How does that fit into what you would do to help a man?
So yeah, so it all depends on who I'm working with,
Right.
because some people have and how many sessions and things, because it's a process. There's layers. There's walls that have to be broken down in order to have authentic and true conversations. So the first thing I do is I'm completely vulnerable and authentic from the get-go.
Okay.
So that kind of establishes, hey, this is where I'm coming from. It's no judgment. I'm gonna let you kind of know everything I went through, the emotions behind what I went through, and articulating that kind of sets the stage that, hey, this is a safe space,
Okay.
right? This is a safe space to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And then if this conversation leads to what is masculinity and all that, then we get into that. If it leads to like what purpose is, what success is. So, but I start with that and then kind of take it wherever the conversation goes. And then from there, then we narrow down, okay, this is what this person's actually struggling with. And a lot of it stems from childhood trauma. A lot of it stems from, the way they was raised, as we talk about, what society says is acceptable or not for men and African American men in our community. What is that look like? Because it's different. Is different. And so how do you have that when because I was talking with some high school kids about this, and it was a football team. And I was talking and said, man, listen, I'm 6'1", 250, 260, African American male that played Division I football. I was like, so I know when I walk into a room, if I walk in an aggressive state, it's going to set the tone for the room in a different way.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And I was like, or if I walk in a enthusiastic, happy, smiling way, it sets the room in a different way.
Mhm.
So I was like, so as much as we say we can't control how people view us, we can control their initial reaction to us.
Yep.
And that's taxing. That's a lot on us because I don't have great days all the time.
Right.
So that's hard to kind of put that on you, but it is and it goes to how you push through and how you're raised to talk about stuff is. So I talk to them all the time about, you if somebody's perception of you is their reality, whether it's right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not, and it goes back to your reputation and how you respectful, how you carry yourself is how somebody perceives you are.
Mhm. Yes,
So
sir.
so it's funny that you said that. We had that conversation all the time. Like, yeah, you have to be aware. And as African American men, you have to be ultra sensitive to those around you and all that. And you know what I mean? And just because it's not only just what they perceive you, it's oftentimes it's life or death
Oh yeah.
how you react to a situation. It's that serious. And so, it's not, just getting home or getting into an argument no, it's life and death, because if the police get called or somebody feels threatened,
Mhm.
and like Ohio just passed a law. I'm not sure where you
I'm in
located.
Florida.
Florida. Okay, so Florida, stand your ground,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Ohio just passed a law that you don't need a CC dubs to open carry. So when I hear things like that, that's terrifying
Sir.
to me,
Mhm.
because I already know I'm viewed as a threat, regard from just on sight. So now if we hear an altercation and my voice gets a little louder than yours, now all of a sudden you're threatened. Now you're justified in your mind to pull that trigger when all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to explain a situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like when we have these conversations, but this is stuff that we don't really get to talk about because we just deal with it. We're like, all right, well, whew, I made it home today.
Right,
Like
right,
you know what I
right.
mean? Like I can
Mhm.
kind of put the armor down for a second, then I gotta go
Right.
out there tomorrow. But like I
Yeah.
made it home today.
Mm. Whew. The struggle. Yeah, being a man is tough. Being a black man is even harder.
Yes, sir.
It's struggle. All right. The next letter in the word prize is E, and the word is expectation.
Mm,
Expectation is a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. What do you
mhm.
expect of yourself? Let's put some time limits on it. So let's say a
Yeah.
year from now, what
Mhm.
is Josh going to be doing? What's going to be happening in 5 years? What's going to be happening in 10 years? What do you expect of yourself as time progresses?
So I expect greatness in every aspect of whatever field it's in. And I have certain goals like, okay, I want to have this, I want to reach this many people, I want to speak in this, I mean, I want to make this amount of money. But my expectation is that every day I am better than I was the day before. That's the only expectation that I have on myself. And that creates excellence because we talk about success, and I talk a lot about success and the process to success. And so many people get caught up in the result and not the process
Mm.
to get the result.
Right, right.
And so I had to learn through trial and error and through life that life's going to come and go as in different ways, right? You may set out to do something one way and then it leads you a completely different path that you didn't even thought was even possible. But when you're stuck in the process, you allow that things and open up to different things happening. When you're so stuck on the result, it has to be this way, it has to be this way, and you miss out on a lot of different things because you're so focused on, I have to do it this way, I can't grow. So so when you ask that question, it's, I don't have like a set, okay, well, this is where I want to. No, it's just, I just want to be better than I was yesterday.
Right.
Tuesday be better than I was Monday, Wednesday be better than I was, and then by the end of the week I'm 6 7 days better, right? And then that goes into 30 days in a month, 365 days in a year. And if then at the end of the year, I can look back and say, every day I progressed.
Okay, I like that.
And so that's my approach. So when I say excellence, it's, I don't know what that excellence is as far as a specific result, but I just know if I do what I'm supposed to do every day, excellence is has to be a byproduct.
Right. I like that. I like
It just has
that.
to be. Success has to follow when you do the right thing it just has to. Not saying it will every day, but the big goal, and Will Smith, you know, so he had a quote one day, and I used this, but he's going through whatever he's going through
Right,
mentally.
right.
But it's how do you build a wall? One brick at a time.
Mm. Right.
He told a story about his dad had him and his brother build a wall outside, and it took them all summer, but they just laid one brick. And he's like, you lay that one brick perfect, you come back and you do the next. So each day you just do it the best you can, then the best you can. And before you know it, you have a whole big wall, a building, or whatever it is you want to achieve. And now it's done.
Right. It's about, it's not about the journey, it's about the destination, right? That's what it is. No, other way around. It's
No,
about the
yeah,
journey,
yeah,
not the
flip, yeah,
destination. Right. So it's about getting there, not there. And I like what you said.
yeah,
I like that. And it's always
yeah.
interesting.
One of my favorite quotes, they said, and I forget who said it, but he says, a man who loves to walk will go further than a man who just loves the destination.
Mm, mm, mm. I like that. I like good quotes. I'm gonna find who said that.
I'm gonna have to get that. But I saw, you go through social media and somebody had, and I think somebody was quoting it for somebody else. So I don't know who said it, but
Right.
when I heard that, I was like, that's so true.
Mhm.
Because the person who loves to walk, just walking to enjoy
Mm.
and not worried about trying to get here, not worried about trying to get there, because it's all, and it's not, and we talk about resilience and your purpose and success, all that is tied up into not only how you do your good days, but how you handle your bad days.
Yes, sir. That's a big thing to me. That's a big thing.
And I heard you talk about it earlier. How you handle your bad days far exceeds the growth you have in how you handle your good days.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that because that's the makings of a man to me, is how you
Mm,
handle when stuff is not going the way you want. I've always
mhm,
liked the idea of, we grow up and we have a plan. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. And you had that happen. I'm going to go, I'm going to be an athlete, I'm going to do these things. And sometimes a lot of times life's like, nah, that's not what's going to happen. That's
mhm,
not what you want, but that's not what it's going to be. You have this plan and then you got to make a left, you got to make a right, you got to do all these things. How do you handle when the plan shifts and the plan just goes awry and you have to do something else?
mm.
How you handle change? Are you able to bob and weave and handle that jab that's coming in when life is trying to catch you? Can you, or can you handle a jab and still come back?
Yes.
Life tests you and it makes you stronger. And I really like that answer. I get a lot of different answers when I get expectation. I like yours a
Hmm.
lot. I appreciate that. The
Thank you.
last letter in the word
Yes.
prize, I always save it, is I. And
Hmm.
it's not a word, it's the person. For me,
Mm.
the I reflects you. So when I've talked about your purpose, your resilience, your zeal, your expectation, all that is good. When we get that all together, then we hit the I. And to me, the I represents that man. So here's my question. I
Hmm.
throw all the shackles off. So you're not a father, you're not a husband, you're not a son, an alcoholic, an athlete, an employee, you're not any of that stuff. When it is just you at your core and nothing else, just you in the dark, whatever, just you at your core. Who are you?
I love this question. I've done a lot of these, and I've done a bit on, and I have. This is probably one of my favorite questions I've ever been asked.
I'm
I
ready.
I absolutely love this, um, because I was at that space. I was at a space when all I had was myself, and I had to remove the athlete. I had to remove the alcohol. I had to figure out who I was without all of that. So I love this question because not we don't do that.
Not enough. Yeah, you're right.
Not enough, right? And that sometimes when you sit with yourself in silence is when you really hear yourself.
Mhm.
You really hear who you are. So I love that. So for me, who I am when all of it is removed, I am a person in this universe who wants to do good and leave a positive impact on life. That's
Uh,
me to the core.
Is that enough for you?
Yes. Yes. If I can be a good person and I can add value to your life and leave whenever you meet me, whether it's for a 30 seconds at a coffee shop or whether it's 10 an hour conversation, if
Right.
I can make your life a little bit better the moment we depart, by whether it's a perspective change, by whether it's you having a bad day and I smile and it just change your mood, if I can leave a positive impact on you, that's good enough for me. That means I've done my job.
That's
And
good.
so that to me that's who I am to the core. So everywhere I go, I try to I'm like, I'm here for a reason. I don't want to get too religious, but I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that, I meet people for certain reasons. I may not know it, but I don't need to know it.
Right.
I just go about and do what I am and who I am every single day, and I can make an impact on somebody.
I like it.
That's good enough for me.
That's what's up. Okay. Good. Thank you for answering the questions in the prize round.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I have a few
No,
more
I love it.
questions to end it.
Yes, sir. I'm here
So
all day. I can be long-winded, so I'm sorry, but I'm here.
dope. We're on a podcast. I need long-winded. I know I'm the same. That's what I like.
I'm here.
So, first question is, what are you afraid of that you cannot control?
Mm, okay. There's two ways I can go. And I'm gonna want you to know, because there's it could either be like the real life, like tough conversation answer, or
Right.
it could be the one like with purpose and everything. So I'm gonna let you pick which one you want.
I like the tough one. Give me the tough answer.
Okay, that's
Give me the
perfect.
tough one.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Mhm.
So the thing I fear the most in life um is being killed by a police officer and not coming home to my family.
I hear that.
That's the God's honest
I hear that.
truth.
Mhm.
That's the God's honest. That when I leave the house every day,
Mhm.
and now, like I said, that they passed this law in Ohio, my fear is that somebody misinterprets my body language, my interactions with them, all that, and I don't come home.
I hear that. I hear that. That and that hits because one thing I'm eventually going to do is I'm going to write a blog, and the first
Mm,
release is my situation, and most Black men have one of those moments, and I
hmm
had one of those moments. So when I hear Black men talk about that, I'm with you. And you're in Ohio, I'm in Florida. Like I'm in
hmm
the land of that stuff.
Right,
I am,
right,
and I moved from New Jersey to move to Florida. The weather's
mm,
nice, but the climate isn't the best. We'll just say that.
right.
So
Yes.
so I know exactly what you mean.
hmm
What are you afraid of that you can control?
I am afraid that, and this is goes to just how I am as a person.
Right.
Um, I'm afraid that certain decisions that I make with good intentions will end up with bad results.
That's fine. That's humanity.
Because
Yeah.
that's life though, but you have to take a chance. But sometimes your intentions are pure, you take a gamble, you do all this, and then it just doesn't end the way you thought, and now you have to live with that.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so my fear is that some of those situations, that either I'm in now or that, I come in the future, just don't end the way I plan. But you can, and when I say you can control that, because you have control over how you react and do, certain things.
Right.
But at the end of it, it's so that's why I'm so big on the process, because I'm like, I know I can't control necessarily the result of everything,
Right.
but what I can control is what I do every day, getting to that result.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So, all right, two more questions. This
Yes,
second to
sir.
last one is this. One of the things I realized when I wanted to do this podcast, and obviously I said at the beginning, is men talking, releasing,
Mhm,
expressing themselves. And I was trying to figure out why we don't do it, how we're raised, what we're expected to be, stereotypes, gender issues, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I think that there are men and a lot of men who want to talk, who want to express themselves, but may not have access to it. So
mhm,
I want to talk. I want to tell somebody what's going on, but I don't know who to say that to.
mhm,
Do I
mhm.
have that person? I could tell my mama. I don't know if my father's going to, my father isn't the warmest. So maybe that's not that
Right.
guy. So my question to you is this. Do you, and obviously your parents are aside, your spouse is aside, do you
Mhm,
have a person that right now you could pick up the phone, call and be like, I did something dumb as hell, right? I don't know why I did it. It was stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. That you could call, you could tell them. They could be like, "You right, Josh. That was some dumbish that you just did," and they would hear
mhm.
you, and they would give you good constructive criticism. But when it was done, it was done. Like
Yeah.
legit good judgment, good constructive criticism. But when it's over, it's done. Do you have that
Mhm.
person that you could just let it all out and feel good about it?
I do, and I think that that is so important to have. Um, and because when you do, because you're right, you can talk to your family, you can talk to, you can talk to your brothers, my brothers, I can talk to my wife, my mom, my dad. But when you have somebody outside of that that has like an unbiased opinion, it's you have real conversations.
Mhm.
right? When you're
Yep.
talking with my mom, I'm having a guided conversation because there's some information, there's some details that I might leave out
No
to
doubt.
protect her. You know what I'm saying?
Right? Yes, sir.
Like, like so you know, so with certain people, and it's not so much that you're trying to hide something, it's just that you're just trying to protect them in a way of like, okay, well, we're not, I can't tell you the full scope of things.
Right. Right.
So to have somebody you could tell her the full scope and they tell you you're right or wrong or indifferent and you trust their opinion is so key, because as men, we don't have that. We don't have somebody who just hears us, and because we know if we're doing dumb stuff, like we know it, right?
Hmm.
We know when we're doing dumb stuff, and sometimes we know, like I said, our intentions are pure, and just the result was bad. So now people are looking at us like you made a horrible decision, but you
Right.
can't explain that. Oh my gosh, that this is why. You know what I mean? And then somebody will accept that. So it's so important to have that. So if you're listening to this, find somebody.
Yes, sir.
And I even break it down to find somebody in different avenues. Find somebody in career that you could talk to when you're having a bad career day. You know, whether it's a mentor or something, because you know, and find somebody who you can do personally, and then find somebody who like a hobby, right? So find three different types of individuals that you can, at least three, it can be more, but that in every facet of your life, that way one doesn't bleed over to the next.
Hmm. I like that.
Because what I realize in just working with people is that you have a bad day at work, you have nobody to tell that frustration with and what you did at work, and sometimes you made a bad decision at work that cost the company money, they're mad at you, but your home is fine.
Hmm.
And then you bring that home, and then now you're mad at your wife for this, you're mad at your kids, and this has nothing to do. So having that avenue to express, hey, I did this at work, how do I rebound from that, and leave it out of the home, is, and vice versa. Some days you might go into work and you and your wife had a tough conversation at 7 in the morning, you just
Right.
waking up and you're like, man, I
Hmm.
gotta go to work all day. And
Hmm.
then you can't carry that into work because now it's going to compound, now you're going to mess up a meeting, and then now your work's mad at you, your wife's mad at you, your home, and now you have no peace.
That's right. There it is.
So I'm all about trying to protect your peace at the most. So in the most peaceful thing we have is our homes,
Hmm.
because that's when you can really, like I said, cut that armor and take that armor off and leave it at the door.
Hmm.
So I want to protect that, and I don't. And sometimes I don't do the best job of that. You know, sometimes I don't, and I have to learn that. But at the end of the day, if we don't have peace in our homes, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever it is, we don't have peace, because we have to put on the show, if you
Right.
will,
Yep.
out there.
Okay. I like that. Oh, that's so good. Last question is this.
Yes, sir.
So, oh, actually, you know what? It's not, because I just thought I had another. This is too good for me.
Listen, I'm here. I'm here.
I'm
We
there.
can we
I'm
can
no.
talk.
This is flow with me.
Yeah,
I like it. I like
yeah.
it.
Well, I'm
So
here.
we talked about having somebody to talk to, but what do you do when life is just tough? It's the weight's heavy, the struggles in your face, and you can't get around, can't get away from it. It feels like all the weight is kind of pulling you down. How do you self-soothe?
And this hits because I literally just was going through this about a week ago. You know, I'm being very honest and transparent. I do speaking and things for a career, and when
Right,
it's going great, it's going great, and when it's not, I don't get speaking gigs for, and I do a lot with school. So summertime is kind of dead,
right,
but we
mhm,
still have bills. You know what
right.
I
They
mean?
still want their money.
Yeah, they still want their money regardless of, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's so some months are tougher than others. But there was one time, about a month, and I was so mad, I was frustrated because like, man, I'm trying this, I'm trying that, but it's part of the process, right? It's life.
Mhm.
So there's a couple things I do. I love to golf. That's
Okay.
my thing. So when I say have a hobby, I think it's important to have a hobby that takes your mind off of whatever situation you're in. however long, 30 minutes, an hour, have an indoor outdoor hobby. Because the pandemic shown that sometimes we might be just in our house for a while.
Yep.
So have an indoor and outdoor hobby that you can distance yourself mentally from what's going on.
Okay.
And then so I have that. So golf is my thing. My wife knows I love to golf, so I'll go out and golf, and that's 4 or 5 hours when I can kind of shut everything off. I still, take meetings and reply to stuff I need to, but for the most part, it's like and then that allows me to see the situation for what all it is and the different possibilities that can arise.
Okay.
As opposed, so you're just kind of removing yourself from the situation.
Yep. Right.
And if it doesn't need to be handled that day or that week, remove yourself and give yourself time to let the scenarios play out. And another thing I do is I meditate. And I'm really big on controlling my mind and my thoughts. So meditation allows me to have a clear mind either at the end of the night or to start my day. So if I know I have a busy day coming up, I'll meditate in the morning.
Okay.
Because I want to have a clear mind. I want to be able to go in and I want to be present. And another thing is being present in the moment. So if I'm at a meeting, I want to be present at that meeting. If I'm talking to you, that's why I put it, okay, let me put on do not disturb because I want to be present. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, so that's one thing that I want to be present in moments. And then if I had a real busy, stressful day, I'll meditate at night. So that way I'm not my mind's not wandering. I'm laying on the bed and I'm worrying about. So I clear all that out by meditation. So those are two things that I do. I meditate and I golf, and I also journal. So those are three things actually that you can do. Okay. Have a hobby, journal, and meditate. And after a while, you'll start to be able to process things and be present in moments. That's just for me.
That's good. No, that's good. All right. So because I talk to men and we talk about expression and releasing emotions and all the stuff that's going on, inevitably we're going to get to relationships. So our wives, our boyfriends, whatever. And one thing that I know as men, we're raised to take care of people. And in a lot of cases, we feel like we're loved because of what we offer, as opposed to who we are. So the last question I have is this. How many people in your life do you feel, and this is a little deep, but I figure it's a good way to end.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Who have truly, truly loved you? Obviously, put your parents aside. I mean, someone who's loved you. And what I mean, someone who's loved you is somebody who knows you in and out, who knows every bit of you, every dark thing, all the ish that's happened to you, that you've done, that you've experienced, that you've allowed to happen. How many people in your life have loved all of you, knowing it all? Because that's the person that we need, and we don't always get that person. So is there somebody who has loved you, I mean, like 100%? And that's hard, because that means they heard some stuff that you wouldn't want to tell other people.
Yes.
Is there somebody that in your life, or multiple people, that you've trusted so much that you told them every single part about you and they loved you anyway?
Yeah. My wife. My wife saved my life. And I say not like physically brought me out of a burning building, but mentally and emotionally, she saved my life. I met my wife when we worked at a restaurant. So when I was struggling to find my job, I became a busboy at a local restaurant at home. My wife was a server. So, and at that moment, I was broken down so emotionally and mentally and humbled, because I went, like I said, being a D1 athlete in my hometown that everybody knew, had a college degree. And now at 24, 25, I'm busting tables.
Okay.
In my hometown. So I'm seeing everybody's parent. I'm seeing everybody I went to school with come in. I'm seeing all these kids who used to watch me, when they was in middle school and elementary on Friday nights. Now they're coming in and I'm busting their tables. So my wife was there at a moment. She saw something in me when I didn't see it in myself. So when I say she saved my life is because I wanted to prove her right.
That,
I wanted to prove that you were right, even when I didn't see it in myself.
mm, mm, value. We don't give ourselves value. We don't recognize the value in ourselves, and sometimes it takes somebody else seeing it for us to see it.
100%. Yes.
So that's so good. That's so good. And
Yes.
I'm glad you have somebody like that, because life, as hard as it can be,
Oh my God.
it's when you have somebody who knows you and has your
Hmm.
back.
Yeah.
That's how you should live life. As hard as it is, you're not by yourself. You're
You
not a
not. And
man. You're not a man on an island. You
no.
got
And
people.
it's tough because like I realize I have that. So I realize I'm extremely lucky. And I, like I said, I take every moment with, for what it is. Like I love living in the moments, regardless of what we go on financially, emotional, whatever the case may be, the house, because all that's come and goes, right? You're gonna make money, you're gonna lose money, you're gonna make money, so that comes and goes. But to have somebody there that you can grow with emotionally, spiritually, whatever the case may be, who when you gain weight, when you lose weight, when you have kids, when you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
like all that is so valuable. And a lot of times it took me to be my most vulnerable state to get that, because and turns out after we had conversations, she was in her most vulnerable state.
Mhm, mhm.
So just as much as she helped me, I helped her and didn't know, but we for the same reason. So
Oh yeah, I
so
got you.
it,
I got you.
it's one of them weird kind of coincidence things that the universe, the stars align, whatever the
Mm,
case, whatever you want to say.
right.
um but and to have that, but the first step is being vulnerable.
Yep. That's right.
And I tell everybody, vulnerability is not a weakness, it's actually a strength.
So true. So true.
because because when you know where you lack, can't nobody hold anything over your head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, so true.
So when you take that power back that they have something on you, now it becomes a strength, because you're like, no, I can work on that. And then once I do, you have nothing. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you literally have nothing. So when you and that's taking your power and taking your life back, is being able to be vulnerable in moments and realize that, man, I'm really struggling. Like I am really struggling mentally and I need some help.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
more you do it, the easier it becomes to get it. And then once you get that help, the floodgates open, because now you realize, oh my gosh, I'm bottling this up, I'm bottling that up, I'm bottling this up. And once that kind of monkey gets off your back one time and you're free and you realize that it's okay to feel how you feel, it's okay to go through whatever emotions you're going through, it's okay that you're not the only one. Right. When you really hear other, and this is why your podcast is so great, because when you can hear other people, other men, different scenarios, different backgrounds, whatever the case may be, have similar stories in the sense of being vulnerable and being, masculinity and all this stuff, when you can have different people from different backgrounds but all come together and have this conversation on being vulnerable and what a man is, you relate to one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can relate to one, you're like, man, and then that lifts up all this pressure that you have to do it alone. So
Mm-hmm.
I love what you do.
That's everything you said is literally the purpose of this podcast. It's very
Mm.
much that, is to recognize it's okay. Life is so
Oh my
much
God.
easier when you don't hold it in, when you can
Oh
just
my
put it
God.
out there. I love that. I love that. It's almost like I wrote that, but you said it and you said it beautifully. And you and
Oh
you
man.
are the personification of why I do this podcast, because I want it needs to be a comfortable thing. It needs to be normalized that we should
Hmm.
be able to talk. And the struggle is real. And it needs to be public for some people, for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah. So with all that said, thank you for talking. I appreciate this. You opened up a lot. You gave us a lot of information.
Oh man.
Where can these men find you? I want to hear you speak. What's your social media? What's your website?
Yeah.
Give it all to us right now.
Yeah, no, man. Thank you once again, Harvey. Thank you. And this is amazing. Like when you reached out to me, I was like, yes, I have to. And we had to, reschedule, do some things. But
It's
I am
all
so
good.
glad. I am
Mhm.
so glad because I think this is so great. Yes. So my website, you can find me. My website is joshcopelandspeaks.com. All one, and Copeland is Copeland.
Mhm.
So joshcopelandspeaks.com. It has my information on there. Um, Instagram, it's my company is called Learn Number Two Cope, Cope. So that's my Instagram. I have some videos and stuff posted on there. TikTok is the same thing. Learn to cope, and then I have an Instagram for Josh Copeland Speaks, but it's all on there. So if you go to Learn Number Two Cope, it's a number two with kind of like a circle around it.
Okay.
That's me. Follow me, reach out. I love to have conversations. Um, I like, as you all know, like, and you can see from here, I'm very honest and open about all my experiences, and we can have conversations. But I think if I could say like one thing to kind of close out on, I think um, it's so important to know that you're not alone. It's so important to know that there are better days. It's so important to know that it's okay. Like it's okay, because we don't get to hear it's okay no matter what we go through. It's okay. It's okay. And the last thing, and Steve Harvey said this one time, and it hit home so hard. And I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said, you have survived 100% of your bad days.
I like that. I like
And and so he's like, by you being here now, you have literally physically survived 100% of your bad days. So unless today is the worst day you ever had, even if it is, we wake up tomorrow, you survived it. Or if it's not the worst day you ever had in your life, then there's a tomorrow.
excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. The words, the emotion, everything was fantastic. I know I learned a lot. I know the listeners, the watchers picked up a lot on that. So thank you so much for speaking. I really appreciate that.
Oh
Um,
man,
it was
thank you for having me. And if there's anything that I could do art for you, please let me know. You have my
oh,
information, you have my email. If you want to have other conversations outside of here, please let me know. If there's anything that I can do to assist in whatever it is you have going on, please reach out. I want to help. I love what you do. And I want to advocate for you. So please let me, if you need guests, let me know. Whatever it is you need from me, um, I want to be that for you. So I appreciate it.
oh, thank you so much. That's good to hear. And you're gonna hear from me. You done opened up, and I know your information. I'm gonna find you.
Hey, anytime, man. You got my email. Just shoot me an email. We can have
Good.
conversations. I'm all for that. So no, but you're creating, and you have created a platform of peace, of um, vulnerability, of a way that people represent, because representation matters. So when people can see themselves in somebody who's going through similar things or has gone through things, that's empowering. So this whole thing is empowerment, and I love how it's men, because you're giving a voice to people who, it's weird because it's the voice to people who sometimes are holding things in and not saying really what they want to say. but to the outside world, it's like, oh, well, you guys are men. You know what I mean? Like you kind of control everything, right? And it's like,
Right.
yeah, yes
We
and
can't
no,
do it
right?
all,
Like,
man. We can't do
yeah,
it
yeah,
all, you know.
you can't
It's
do it all,
hard.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard, and nobody gives us the chance to just be like, man, this was tough. Like
Yeah.
nobody gives us a chance to be like, you know what? It's tough to be a man and go through what we go through every day and not get the, feel like you just got to suck it up and move on.
Hmm.
And at
Yeah.
some point, all that emotion is going to come out.
Yeah. And we don't want that. We want it to
No.
come out controlled in our own
Yes.
time. And that's the point
Yes.
of this. Thank you. I love this. Was this such a good episode? So thank you to you, everybody who listens and watches the podcast. There's a great voice. I was blessed at the end of last season to do an episode of just affirmations from women for men, because we talk about
Mm,
us. So the last episode of first season was about like 20 minutes or so of just women who sent minute messages about just how much they appreciate men.
wow.
And I thought, and it worked out well because it came out on Father's Day. So I thought it was just a good thing to do. And one of the benefits I got from it was one of the women who has a fantastic voice. Her name is Kristen McGriff, and she says my intro and my outro. So I always say thank you at the end of these pods. Thank you for that smooth intro and that smooth exit for the podcast. She has a podcast called the Candid Shop Podcast. Give her a listen. And finally, thank you to every listener, to every watcher. I hope this episode hits you in a special way. I hope you feel good listening to this. This is Men of the Prize podcast, where your inner monologue is revealed. And never, ever, ever forget you are a man and you are the prize. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.